It gives me particular pleasure as President of the OHS to open this event. This is my first official external engagement. I was only inaugurated on Wednesday afternoon, so I'm very early on in my term as President, and I can't think of a more appropriate one. I'm actually the first member of HSE's Science Division, or HSL in old money, to lead the OHS, and that's a great privilege too. So having worked in a scientific environment for 35 years, I feel a particular affinity with the work of researchers in this area. I've made a few small, modest contributions to research myself and published work in the annals in the context of occupational exposure and exposure control. But this also goes to the heart of why I work in this area and why I also volunteer for BOHS. When you become president of BOHS, you are given many things, but one of the things is you're given the chance to propose a theme for the year, a topic for the society to focus on. And I want BOHS this year to focus on getting occupational hygiene awareness and messages to the really hard to reach groups of workers, the people that are right on the sort of fringes of employment. And we've become very obvious during the pandemic that these people were at great risk. People have pointed out to me that it's going to be very difficult to do. By definition, they are hard to reach. It's going to be a tough challenge, but it's particularly relevant perhaps for this event. It could be said that inhaled particles and nanoexposures don't discriminate who they affect. We all have lungs, we all have to breathe, and if there are particles in the air, we are going to inhale them. If you're lucky enough to live in London, anywhere up to 20% of the air pollution is probably coming from construction activity out there on the streets. However, the levels of exposure that a construction worker or a farm labourer, someone involved in demolition, or even maybe someone working in one of the new and developing green industries is exposed to during their work is much, much higher than someone that's just walking through the city streets. Whilst we may have seen a reduction in exposures to particles from things like the mining industry and to asbestos over the years, which have seen whole communities and industries exposed to really high risk cancer-causing particulates, the problem is not a diminishing one. It's not going away, and I'm sure everyone in this room would agree with that. These are HSE statistics. The top one is just work-related ill health in general. It's not particularly respiratory health. It's a flat line. Occupational asthma, as I'm sure you all know, is actually on the increase, certainly according to HSE's statistics. So it's not going away. It's not a problem of history. Despite numerous campaigns, enforcement actions, interventions, inspections, and high-level commitments from industry and from government. As a scientist, I've spent most of my life trying to understand the physical, chemical, and biological actions of cause and effect. The wonder of the science that we do in this field of airborne particles is that there's always something else for us to research, something more to understand, more to discover. There are generally more questions than answers, as I'm sure you all appreciate as researchers. And this event is a testament to the beauty and the fascination of this subject. The fact that this thing has run for 60 odd years, is a testament to just how much there is to learn and to know in this area. However, at the other extreme, the basic principles of exposure and exposure control, whilst they could be better understood and certainly better applied, are not age-old mysteries. A lot of them revolve around human behaviour and just a desire to change processes and to change attitudes. Perhaps the greatest challenge for me is to work out how we can find the economic, social and political drive to do these things that we know would eliminate a huge proportion of exposure to things like silica, and at the same time not import bad practices and old problems into the new and developing low-carbon, net-zero type industries. Over the years, in recent years, should I say, BOHS have adopted a new strategy, which is trying to look at occupational hygiene not only as a science and professional practice, but as a collective social endeavour. We're extending our arguments beyond the technical considerations of what might be reasonably practicable within a workplace to try to take in the whole context of technology and social policy. In some ways, this is just an ordinary extension of what we all recognise as the hierarchy of control. What we're trying to get to here is designing out exposures by eliminating processes where possible and eliminating hazardous substances at the design stage so that there is no risk of inhaled particle exposure in the workplace, if that's possible to do. This is taking hygienists into conversations and into environments and conversations with professionals where we haven't previously been. We've had no profile at all. The OHS have developed and promoted management standards focusing specifically on health risk management. And we're beginning to have conversations in relation to areas of technology, such as building information management systems that, to a technophobe like me, seem an absolute million miles away from where I've come from in terms of my career. The recent evidence that BOHS gave to the DWP committee on asbestos, the inquiry on asbestos, we saw that as a high point for the society. Our submission was based on detailed scientific work and technical insight around the analysis and control of asbestos, but the thrust of our submission was around social policy, regulation and economics. It's perhaps inevitable that the country's Chartered Society for Worker Health Protection would eventually move into this space with this additional string to our bow surrounding social policy and economics. However, at the heart, BOHS are and always will be a scientific society. Our annals of workplace exposure and health continue to go from strength to strength. The bittersweet legacy of the pandemic saw a bump in access to the annals, particularly around the science of inhaled particles and how to protect people from them. Our research found its way out into the mainstream media. BOHS took the bold step of providing technical guidance that went beyond the traditional province of typical workplace exposures. We determined that most public spaces are somebody's workplace, and in doing so, we took consideration of occupational hygiene into a more public discourse. But all that we did was based on science. 62 years of this event is worth celebrating. Over the years, this event has stimulated minds, provided discourse and debate, and contributed to the interactions that are the catalyst of scientific thought. Sharing ideas accelerates the progress of science. It's absolutely essential that we meet and we share ideas like this. BOHS ourselves are revisiting our own archives of technical guidance with a view to making public almost 70 years of technical guidance that the Society have produced. As part of that, we look forward to going through the proceedings from this meeting and highlighting the many excellent contributions to thought that this has provided. My colleagues in BOHS head office are looking forward to this opportunity to celebrate in the best way possible by shining a light on 60 years of intellect, innovation and insight that this group has provided. Of course, what we can't capture on paper here is the passion, enthusiasm and camaraderie that it takes to start and maintain an event like this. To appreciate that, you need to be here in the room to experience it, as I am now and as we all are. I'm looking forward, as Roger's already said, to many, many stimulating presentations this afternoon and maybe raising a toast to everyone at the end of the day. And with that in mind, I'm going to stop talking and hand you over to our first speaker. I don't actually know who's next. You do. Thank you.